Chapter 10. The Sereth Lothlertag, Return to Strange Skies. The recon ship landed on the takeoff deck of the flagship of the reconnaissance half-fleet Fdune, the patrol ship Hairbirch. "We're here." While stroking his injured shoulder, Jinto peered at Leifir's profile. She had her head in her hands. "What's up with you?" "The Great Duchess of Latepan," she muttered as though delirious. "The commander of this half-fleet is the Great Duchess of Latepan. Why now of all times?" "Oh, you mean Associate Commodore Spore? What about her?" "We, the agreeable Avriel, have never gotten along with the sly and insidious Spores." "Wow. Not only did I just get saved by a Spore, I'm forced to meet one in such clothes," she bemoaned, looking down at her garb. It was a Klasbiel-style one-piece. "Boarding preparations complete. Please come this way, Lanyu." The ship commander with the rearguard star pilot insignia proved a tad more tongue-tied when addressing Leifir, though. "Trainee star pilot Lanyu." Leifir stood up and saluted. "Thank you very much." Jinto saluted too, and headed for the airlock room. Around 10 star pilots were already waiting for them at the takeoff deck. The star pilot standing in the center was like a carnivorous butterfly, beguiling yet fierce. Her rank insignia, Associate Commodore, she could be none other than Associate Commodore Spore. Upon descending from the recon ship, Leifir saluted, and Jinto bowed his head. Spore glared at Leifir's saluting form as though to find fault, and bowed gracefully from the waist. The attendant star pilots emulated her gesture. "Welcome, Fee, welcome, Lanyu. By the way, Your Highness, please conduct yourself as a member of the Imperial household on this ship." "But I have not received contact from a trainee star pilot." "But Associate Commodore," Leifir insisted. "Besides, I can't think of you as a trainee star pilot even if I wanted to, with that attire," said Spore, delivering the final blow. "Very well then." She saluted with indignation. "It's been a while, Great Duchess." "It truly has. I haven't seen Your Highness since the banquet in celebration of your admission to the Academy." Spore bowed. "And I must say, I, as the Great Duchess of Latepan, must too congratulate the healthy manner with which Your Highness is growing. Or at least, I would like to, but it looks as though there has been a gnarl in your eye for beauty. Do tell me, what has led to that choice of clothing?" "It wasn't my idea." Leifir glowered at Jinto askance. "It was Jinto, I mean, the noble prince of the Count Dom of Hyde's idea." "Oh my." Spore's eyes opened wide with surprise. "You mean to say Yarluk Dryor gave you that garb to wear and had you dye your hair black? These clothes are an improvement. The first set Yarluk Dryor bought me was gaudier still." My. Speechless, her crimson eyes turned to Jinto. Jinto was perplexed and embarrassed. If he explained that it was out of pure necessity, would this Lanyu Honorable Great Duchess, understand and be reasonable about it? "Please forgive me, Lanyu." To his shock, she bowed her head deeply to him, despite his lower rank. For what?" His confusion only intensified. "When I heard Filart Barker, His Highness the King of Bars, approve the founding of the Countdom of Hyde, I believed it to be the height of eccentricity. I wondered whether it was prudent to make someone ignorant of the ways of the Ov into a noble. I mean no disrespect, but the surface defense weapons of the planet Martinu were not enough to pose any threat." "Eccentric, you say?" Jinto didn't know what to make of all that. "But I've changed my mind since then. Your achievements more than befit the rank of a Druk, Count, Lanyu." Thank you. What did he do that befitted the rank of Count? Did she mean how he protected Leifir? But going by the flow of the conversation, he doubted that was it. The quickness with which Avriel fly into rage, and the intensity of their wrath once aroused, has echoed through all corners of the Empire as a legendary object of fear. Moreover, I've heard that Fee Lamhir of the Royal House of Cryb is an Avriel among Avriel, in that her fiery rage can be compared only to the first instance of the birth of the universe. "Grand Duchess," said Leifir. She had something to say. Spore ignored her. "And to think that you would dye the hair of that selfsame Fee Lamhir black, and clothe her with such bizarre apparel. Though I see the evidence before my very eyes, I can still scarcely believe it. That's a feat for a Lobeck, Marquis, no, a Lacerec, Duke, let alone a Count. You have my heartfelt admiration." Jinto cast his eyes down. He was unable to accept her words of praise as such. In fact, it seemed as though she was indirectly chastising him for dressing Leifier in peculiar garb. "Don't let it get to you, Jinto," Leifier said apologetically. "She's using you to make fun of me. It is in the nature of a spore to be as twisted as a molecule of nucleic acid. If I may borrow the Grand Duchess's phrasing, La Nupénègre of the Nimiec Latepan, Grand Duchess's estate of Latepan, is a spore among spores, in that she is renowned for having brought the technique of veiled disparagement the spore family has refined over 1,000 years to the level of an art form." "Ho ho ho ho." Spore threw back her pale white throat and laughed. Then she peered square into Jinto's eyes for the first time. "But it's true that I like you, noble prince. I was told you will be a quartermaster star pilot. I invite you to fight under me. Before we discuss the future, there's a more important matter, Grand Duchess," Leifier cut in. She seemed flustered for some reason. "Could you lend me a military uniform? I'd also like to shed this hair dye. A uniform will be fetched for you on the double. As for your hair, how do we remove the dye? Might a hot bath be to your aid?" "I tried. It didn't work." "Then what is it we ought to do?" "I don't know." Leifier looked at Jinto. Spore looked at Jinto. Jinto looked bewildered. "Now that you mention it, I feel like there was something about that in the product directions. Unfortunately, I threw it out." The two females kept staring. There were plenty of those hair dye things on Clasbule, so if we touch down and ask somebody." "Just now, I heard somebody somewhere suggest a truly alarming idea." Spore shuddered. "The idea goes that the star pilots of my glorious Ftun should descend onto a terrestrial world, still controlled by the enemy. That they should clear away enemy resistance, get their uniforms drenched in enemy blood, capture a frightened and quavering terrestrial citizen, and ask them, 'Hey, you know how to get rid of hair dye?' What a dreadful notion. The Ftuna's prestige would crash down to the ground." Jinto's shoulders drooped. "You're right. With the two of them safe and sound, the fact that enemy soldiers were still holding out on Clasbule's surface had slipped his mind. This is what I suggest we do. Let's borrow a strand of Fee's hair. I'll send it to the Kruriak pharmacy. Then we'll have them analyze it and formulate a drug to get the dye off. What do you say?" "Please do so. There's also this." Leifier pulled the memory crystal up off her chest. "It's the navigation log of the patrol ship Gosloth." When Leifier held the memory crystal in hand, the star pilots saluted it. After a moment of solemnity, Spore gave a sign. "Senior Staff Officer, go take it off her hands." "Yes." The star pilot with the emerald green hair and a mysteriously fatigued look on his otherwise arresting countenance stepped forward to receive the memory crystal with due reverence. "Now then, Fee Yarluk, please follow me. I'll take you to your rooms. Actually, on second thought, it looks as though we should take the noble prince to the infirmary first," she said, eyes on his left shoulder. "I can't help but marvel at how it could even be possible to get off with just an injured shoulder after fitting her highness with such amusing dress." "I'm not the one who shot him," she snapped. 37 minutes later. The Glagak Byrektlaim, flagship of the Tlyfe fleet, the patrol ship Kerdai, re-emerged into normal space from the Svagov Gate. And as soon as it did, they received copious amounts of data and communications from the Hairbirch, which they then began to greedily consume. "Lanyu," said Kilo Commander Kuyur. "What?" Commodore Tlyfe looked up. "Word has come in that Fee Bearparian and Lanyu Yarluk Dryor Hader have been rescued." Tlyfe grunted disbelievingly, mouth agape. It was just so implausible. He'd known them to have been on the patrol ship Gosloth. What were they doing out here? Is the Gosloth actually intact? I'm afraid not. It would seem the Gosloth did fall in battle. I'm truly sorry to hear that. But if that's the case, then why is Fee Lartner here? It appears she escaped as per the captain's orders and fled from danger to this terrestrial world. However, the full report has yet to be composed, so I don't know the details. Well, I can't blame you. Fee Lartner carried the Goslotha's navigation log back with her, and there is some information of a special interest recorded therein. Go on then. I have ascertained whence they surfaced. Where was it? Gate 193 of Seishu. According to the captain's inference, they carried a gate from the area 4.1 light-years away to the Bakuten star system. The captain being Hector Commander Lekshu. She was a fine star pilot, he said, pacing. Yes. Her reasoning process was fluid and unstrained, and I agree with the conclusion the Hector commander reached. As for the analysis of the rest of the information stored in the captured ships, we have only just begun, but I assume it will corroborate her deductions. The map of flat space rose back into view on the commander's bridge. Kuyur indicated as he spoke, 2 domains exist between this point and Gate 193 of Seishu. They're the Borskor Gamteker, Gamtek Viscountum, and the Feb-Barony. I strongly suggest we split the fleet with all haste in order to allow the Lords and the Gosaklak Servant Corps to evacuate if possible. Are we able to contact the Vorlash Kondom? Perhaps by skirting around Gate 193 of Seishu, he pondered, back to standing still. We ought to try it. Shall we use the Ftun? I think the Ftun might need to recuperate at the moment, Tlyfe feared. No other ships can bear to take up this mission, Kuyur stated. Authoritatively. True, Tlyfe nodded. We need to carry on quickly. Let's drive the Ftun to the edge of exhaustion. Yes, sir. We mustn't, however, make those 2 accompany the ships there. Of course not. Why do you always insist on pointing out the obvious? Arrange for a ship to transfer them to at once. Understood. Surgery complete. But you received great first aid. The Army medic, a genetic lander, removed the Kurpasek, medical support machine, from Jinto's shoulder. So great we probably should have just left it as is. In any case, it'll be awkward for a bit, but by the time you reach Lokvakar your tissues will be totally regenerated. The medic bandaged Jinto's left shoulder and made the dressing stiffen. Thanks. Jinto stared at the shoulder. His new cast had hardened in place, running from his elbow up. Your clothes are here, by the way. Hope you like the design. The medic proffered the jumpsuit. Its left sleeve came out at around the hips. The rest of the outfit above the hips was seamless. It was tailored to match Jinto's present figure. I like it a lot, he said, putting it on. Then a Line-Wing star pilot entered the infirmary with impeccable timing, as though they'd estimated Jinto's surgery would be done at that moment. This half-fleet has been tasked with a new mission, they stated. We must have you depart the ship, Lanyu. What, already? Said Jinto, surprised. The captain expresses her chagrin. She said she would have liked to ask you all about your adventures over a meal. Please give her my regards. Of course. Now, come with me if you would. Jinto bade the army medic goodbye and exited the infirmary. The star pilot led him to the takeoff deck. We'll be having Lanyu and Fee transfer to the communications ship the Akril. Since it will be taking you to the imperial capital without stopping, you should be home in around 3 days. I've never been to Lokvakar, admitted Jinto. Is that so? The star pilot looked a tad taken aback. Upon embarking onto the boat, he found Lafier waiting inside. She was wearing a military uniform without any rank insignia, and her hair had turned bluish-black once again. Hey, look at that, it's back to normal, he said jocundly. Though her black hair and one-piece look had a charm all its own, seeing her now convinced him that her true hair color and a military uniform suited her the best. Do you really think it's back to normal? Yeah, of course. But Lafier's eyes and tone rang alarm bells in his head, and he lost all conviction. Look carefully. Lafier held some strands in hand. It's lost color. Now that she mentioned it, the color did look slightly lighter, closer to a primary shade of blue than before. But this color's pretty too, he said, trying to pacify her. He was about to defend himself, before realizing that there was no need. The situation had demanded her hair be dyed. Besides, there was no reason she had to be in such a rush to remove the dye anyway. If more time had been spent analyzing it, it may even have proved possible to formulate a chemical capable of doing the job without damaging her hair. I'm not attacking you, said Lafier. I'm simply disappointed in your faulty memory. Come on, it's not that different. While Lafier hadn't been angry before, those words sealed his fate. The royal princess turned away pouting and refused to speak until they sat down for breakfast the next day.